Hello and welcome back to the Sunday special episode of the U Up podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I'm Jared Freed. We are doing a very special Sunday special.
Impromptu, but I think the audience is going to really enjoy it because it's personal.
It involves the Betches family. Why don't you introduce?
Yes. So we have as our very special guest, we have Julia, who works for Betches, works at Betches.
Honestly, I don't even know what Julia does here. Because let me just say to the audience, Julia has come in here, but pre-podcast, and talked about her dating life with us enough to the point where it was like, sit the fuck down, right. We're doing an episode. Because it's the same story. This is a saga.
It's funny that you don't know what she does. Like, it could be she doesn't even work here.
Right. Well, because I walk in and, I see Julia at her desk and I'm like, hey. And then she comes in here and she's like, you won't believe what happened with this guy again. And then we talk about her dating stuff. And then, right. How would I?
Well, Julia, say hello to the audience. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Julia.
Okay. Well,
Julia's very uncomfortable with this.
I am so uncomfortable.
Okay.
First time on the mic.
So, Julia, let's take this back to square one. Julia has part of her job is she's on the U Up tours. So you've come with us on the U Up tours, yes. And on some of the tours from last year, you had been like to me, "Do you know anyone to set me up?"
I forgot
with?
that's how this all started. Yes.
Honestly, this is so long ago that it's like crazy.
Literally a year ago.
Yeah, this is almost a year ago.
Summer of 2022.
So you were always on the tour with us. You confide in Jordana. Hey, I'm looking to meet someone. Jordana's like, I got a guy. Yes.
So it's a friend of Mike's. That's as much identifying information as we're going to give. A friend of Mike's, I was like, I know this guy is single. He's a nice guy.
I know this guy. Well, Julia's making a face now that he's not a nice guy. He's a great guy.
Jared's met him. He's been at my wedding.
He was at the wedding. Great guy, fun guy, totally down for what he's putting out there.
Yeah. And I love setting people up, and I'm like, he's a good guy. I'm going to I love Julia. And so let's try it. So set you guys up.
So the interesting part about this is we're not even letting Julia talk.
We're telling it for her.
Right. The interesting part to us, or to me anyways, is you're getting to see the side of the setup. You're seeing the person who set you up, Jordana, having to deal with the trials and tribulations of what you're going through with this guy. And is this normal? Is this not normal? Have you set up and you're wondering, has a date been set up? What's he doing?
Right.
How's it going? And so in the beginning, it was happening. And how did it start?
It started, you gave him my number.
Yes. I vetted you guys for each other. I sent the appropriate pictures and descriptions. Both were interested in the setup.
Right.
Gave him your number.
Gave him my number. And then we actually realized before we had a first date scheduled that we were both going to be at the New York U Up Live show.
A perfect place to find love.
And
there
we
it is.
decided
that you want love.
Our next show is I believe June 24th at the Palladium in Times Square. Sorry, Plug City.
Right.
If you also want to find love.
Got to take a trip there.
Yes. Sorry, go on.
But I was like, I'm not having my first date with this person be in front of all my coworkers. So we met 2 nights before that. We went out to dinner.
Right. So that kind of pushed the issue of let's meet before we're going to have this kind of group meeting. And so you have the date before the U Up Live show and it goes well.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
It was fine.
Yeah. I didn't leave. I wasn't like sparks are absolutely flying, but I was definitely down to do it again.
Right.
You had a good time.
Yeah.
And
right.
had a good time. And so then the U Up Live happens. You have a good time in passing at this kind of social event.
Right. And then we have this after party where we spend a lot of time hanging out at this party. So we basically had our second date at this work event. Had a great time.
I think a great way to meet someone.
Agreed. And all of their friends.
Absolutely.
Right.
And listen, you guys are both older. You're in your 30s. It's not like this isn't, all their friends, but this is more normal, I think, in your 30s than
I agree.
20s.
Yes.
It didn't feel awkward or not normal. It was actually fun.
And so, as the weeks go by, you're coming in and telling us we're going, how's it going? Because now now the person who set you up and I've witnessed you two together, or, I'm a part of this now too.
Yes.
And
we're all invested.
We're all invested. And again, how does it feel when we're asking, how's it going? Are you upset by that?
No, not upset at all, especially when it was seemingly going very well.
Right.
It was fun to talk about.
Well, there was one thing that came up in the beginning of this setup that was very interesting to me. His aversion to dinners.
I don't do dinner.
I don't do dinners.
And we had actually called him to discuss if he actually
forgot.
said that. And I think he was like, I don't not do dinner. I just prefer to get to know people over like activities or something.
Right. It was a little vague.
Yeah.
And it was a little...
He's a little vague.
Right. It was a little, it is funny that women hear everything. You guys remember everything.
Of course. I told you, listening.
Right. Like, yeah. But he probably said, I don't do dinners, and thought nothing of the I don't do dinners thing. But then it comes back and we call him to literally like explain this don't do dinners thing. And he's like, well, I eat sometimes.
The issue wasn't that he didn't do dinners. It was that he did make that comment, and to your point, that he would prefer to get to know someone doing activities, but we weren't doing like he wasn't planning those either. It just like we would end up hanging out in his apartment. We would maybe get a drink and then like, and not in an exclusively like sexual way. We just would like hang out watching TV or something.
Okay.
We just didn't go on a lot of dates.
Right. And this was underwhelming you.
Yes.
Okay. So then we have a breakup of sorts.
We have a breakup of sorts, yes.
Give us the time.
The breakup.
So we met in August, mid-August, early August. Breakup is end of September or early October.
6 weeks,
Okay.
8 weeks.
It seems like a couple-ish months.
Okay.
A tale as old as New York City time.
Yes. Right. Okay. So what happens to facilitate this breakup?
He calls me. He knows there were a few check-ins. Or at one point, we were out on a date, and I said, like, I think this is going well in passing.
Okay.
And he was very taken aback by that comment.
So wait, you're on the date, and you're going, I really like what we're...
I'm having a great
like,
time.
It's getting,
Like, whoa! Right.
that is hilariously relatable, though.
Is it?
Yes, because you do have this thing where you're on a date with someone and they go, and you see the twinkle in their eye, and they have a moment where they go, I'm really having fun with you. And you have to go, there's no middle. You have to agree. And it is a reveal of a sort that we've talked about on this podcast.
Which is fine.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with saying I'm having it, but it's something I have had done to me where I'm like, how do I middle ground this? How do I say...
How do I not give out the wrong impression about where I'm at?
Right. And because if you say, I'm having a wonderful time getting to know you too, I don't know, that's given to them and they can do whatever
Well, that's something you're going to remember.
Absolutely.
He's also having fun.
He's right. He's enjoying. We're on the same page. But to me, if I...
So what is his response to...
Right.
His response was, I'm still assessing.
If I'm having a good time. Okay.
I respect that because I am not that strong. I would go, I'm having a one. That is a hard thing to say. And it's honest. It's more honest than I would be.
Right. It's very ballsy, I think.
Totally ballsy. That's the best way to put it.
If nothing else, he was honest, is the perfect word, the entire time.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
That's something.
From the beginning.
Okay.
Right. So you're on this. So when you hear I'm still assessing, you're obviously a little turned off by that.
Right. That was our first like discussion about where we were at.
Okay.
Right. The fact that he's buffering.
Right.
Yeah.
Computing.
Right. That was the first time it was clear that we were not on the same page.
I'm going to think about it. Well, it's like, I understand where you're coming from because it's like, we're here. We keep going out. Are you not? Is it not almost implied? Am I not almost stating something that seems extremely obvious that we're both having fun? Because we keep going out.
Where's the notebook that this assessment's going on? Right?
Right.
Like, I agree with you, but
Like to say I'm not sure if I'm having a good time while you're out just seems like, then why are you here?
I am to an extent. I am having. I guess like if assessing to me would be I'm having a good time, but I'm letting you know maybe not as convinced as you are that this should be a monogamous relationship.
Yes. And that was what he was ultimately getting at. And
Right.
I think he was saying, yes, I'm having fun, but like we're dating. I haven't come to any decisions. I haven't made any decision about this. And I mean, it grew into a larger conversation because I was like, neither have I. That's not what I was saying. I was just was stating that this was a fun evening and I'm having a good time.
This is like out of an episode of Friends. Like that is a TV show conversation.
Well, here's an important thing to note that might not be the most flattering for you, is that him saying that, I do think to an extent makes you like him more.
Absolutely.
Right?
Everything
Absolutely.
changed. Everything changed after that conversation.
Because before you're like, it feels like a little bit of a lock. And then afterwards you're like, wait, now it's like, now I can't, it's not in my grasp anymore.
Yes.
I must have it.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't think he's a manipulative guy. I don't think he's trying to manipulate in this sense, but it becomes, I am the bachelor, and you are on my show.
Right.
I will see if I give you the rose. And you're like, I want the fucking rose, which is within all of us. I don't think that makes you, but the power dynamic has been established at that point.
Now it's shifted the power dynamic.
Right.
Because you played a card and wasn't received as you had hoped.
Right. And
I watched the power dynamic shift
Before your
I saw
eyes.
it. Like I literally watched it
Slipping
happen in
through
that
your
moment.
fingers.
well, this is the point of the reveal and how situationships happen. We talked about this. How do we birth a situationship? I believe in this moment, a situationship is birthed because he is being honest. He's going, I am assessing. And you're like, I'll stick around for the assessment.
Right.
Yeah.
At that moment, you weren't like, all right, well, see you never. Right.
Right, I ain't one to be assessed.
Right.
You didn't
Right.
walk out.
Correct.
Throw the
Correct.
drink in his face. Which
Correct.
I don't think you're lesser for that.
neither. I've
been
done
there.
that many times.
We've all
Yes.
done that. Right. So we leave the assessment date. What goes on from there?
I think we just we continued to see each other casually, I guess. I just don't think we ever made it back from that. I didn't because
Right.
I kept being like, I'm ready, like, let's move to the next step. Like,
Right.
what's happening? And he just kept not being ready for
You
that.
were holding on hope that he might
Yeah.
continue assessing and then decide when
Right.
assessing that he was
Right.
going to be into it.
Right.
Right.
Right. So then the breakup conversation.
So then a few weeks later, he calls me and is just like, I still don't know what I want. I know that you want an answer of some kind. So for both of our sakes, I think we break.
Call it.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
was when?
This was end of September or
Right.
beginning of October. So a few weeks after.
Right. Now we get to Julia's, like, what do they call it when the people, this is really great radio. What do they call it when Amish kids go out?
Oh.
Rumspringa.
Thank you.
Yes.
Our local Amish Maddie weighs in.
Amish enthusiast.
You kind of had a Rumspringer winter, I would say, because you came in here and you're like, it's over. And I remember then there was a point. This is when you kept popping in here, being like, I fucked up.
Right.
You kept, it was like a lot of like, ba-da-da-da-da-da. We hooked up. Like it was a lot of Julia
Right.
and us repeating ourselves as we sometimes do on these SOS podcasts, as we've been
As
told.
like, don't do this. It's not good for you. You're not going to. Well, tell us how that happened.
Right.
So you break up. There is a period of no contact after that initial breakup, no?
With less than a week.
Less than a week.
But only because I had items to return.
Okay.
The
Which I
items
know
to
people think is an
return.
excuse, and it probably is a lot of the time. But I really had his stuff, and I said to him,
I think
can
if you
throw
break up
this
with someone,
shit out.
you should be allowed to just burn their stuff,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Get your stuff before the breakup.
Right. Or you lost it.
Yeah, or it's gone.
So wait, you had his stuff and he kept saying, I need
No,
my stuff?
no. I texted him saying, I have this. Do you care about it? If not, I'll get rid of it. If you do, I'll find a way to give it back to you. And he was like, okay, we'll figure it out. I'll get it at some point. And then every few weeks there was contact of like, hey, can I swing by? Hey, like, do you have this, like, should I pop in and grab it? Very non-committal, nothing. No implication of anything.
To the listeners at home,
Toss
this
it.
is
Yeah.
toss it.
Toss it.
This is the relatable part. If you're texting about a hooded sweatshirt, that sweatshirt ain't worth what's gonna come with the sweatshirt.
Well, I think we can all admit here that
It wasn't about the sweatshirt.
it wasn't about
Right.
the sweatshirt.
So this is the sweatshirt is what is what kept you sewn together.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like that sweatshirt's seams.
Right.
I tried to make it magical and poetic and it didn't work.
It half worked.
Okay. So
So things started back up again, and frankly, it was better this time around than the first time because I knew he didn't want anything. I thought I was able to continue without getting emotionally invested.
Did you really think that?
After the first couple times, yes, because I thought it would be once every few months, maybe we would see each other again, and it wouldn't be anything.
And you're
consistent.
on.
And what was our advice on that?
Your advice was you may continue this until the end of the year, and then if he reaches out after that, you have to end it.
Right. There was a consensus here that you wouldn't be able to handle this with no end date in mind.
Yes.
That you could, sure, we're going to hook up. It's the end of the year. The year will end. Back on, and you were back on the apps.
Yep. Back on the apps.
But you weren't really serious about them. I think.
The apps?
Yes.
Maybe not serious about them. Maddie's shaking her head no. I was on them. I was going on dates to try and move past it.
Cleanse.
Yeah, it's trying to cleanse.
But you weren't really I feel like emotionally into going on these dates because you had this backup situation.
Maybe. I don't totally know about that, but maybe.
Okay. I just think it's much harder to go on apps and be totally present and there when you have this backup thing that is kind of a toxic thing in the back of your mind happening. You give it less of a real shot, in my opinion.
And also if they say, if they're saying they're assessing, there's that hope.
Right.
Assessment comes with hope of being assessed.
Well, that's point. He's not assessing anymore.
This was second round.
This is second round, but I do think that he's always said, I've had fun. I've enjoyed your company. There's the hope is still out there that hey, maybe this thing will work out while I'm testing out other things.
Sure.
And so I can understand the idea of we just hook up. No, that isn't just the thing.
The other thing about this second round was the first time that we saw each other, we went out to dinner, we got drinks, we were doing activities. We went to the Knicks game. We were doing things that weren't happening the first round.
Game on Christmas.
We went to the Knicks game on Christmas.
And you asked a question on my question box.
We submitted a question
I was
to Jared's box.
This is so weird because I just was watching your Q&A on Christmas and I was like, this is so weird. I feel like Julia's at the Knicks game.
Right.
And you were like, yeah, that's her.
That's her. Do we want to find the Christmas box question?
I have the screenshot.
You have it?
Of course she does. Okay.
I don't have my phone
All
on
right.
though.
What? Do you have the?
I might have
It's probably in our text to each other because I screenshotted it and I was like, is this Julia?
Yeah.
And you were like, yes.
Yes.
You were basically like, if a guy takes you to the Knicks game, does
he love you?
Does he like you? And I came back with
you have it?
a fucking hammer.
Well, it was actually very insightful, which you don't usually do on your responses.
Usually you give shit advice.
Right.
Well, usually he makes a joke.
Well, sometimes
No,
I'm
this was not a
fucking around.
joke.
Here it is. Okay.
You got it. Okay.
Okay. Someone you used to date. So then, Julia, here's the problem with what you're in. Because I've been in this. We're hooking up. There's nothing going on here. We can joke about it together.
Yeah.
Because you ever been in that?
Not funny.
It's right. It's a big fun joke.
It's always funnier for the guy.
Right, because he's like, I'm in control. She knows exactly what I'm looking for. She knows we're hooking up. She's cool, that we're not going to be anything more. She's writing into this fucking idiot's, question box. She's sharing his answer with me. I'm sure you wrote
must
it.
not be that
I was
sensitive.
asking a question.
Well, it's like when guys joke about engagement. It's funny.
Right.
Until it's not funny. Right. Then it's...
It's not.
Do you know what I mean? Like you say, we don't like big rings. Like it's funny until you're like, well, where the fuck is my ring?
Right. What the fuck? I've just wasted all this time.
Right.
So you wrote, someone you used to date asked you to go to the Knicks game on Christmas Day. What the fuck? So I wrote, that person is very happy with where you two currently stand. They're emotionally unaffected by whether you like them or don't because you've already broken up. He's already had the difficult conversations. You know he doesn't want more. So now you two can just have fun at a game and maybe tickle one another naked. He's getting the comfort of a girlfriend type and the girlfriend type day with none of the responsibilities of a girlfriend. He will never get asked, what are we? And if he does, he will point at the conversation you two already had. So have fun at the game. That was
very accurate assessment.
It was very accurate.
Yeah, and also I knew a little bit more than I should.
Yes.
But I think that's the answer. That is the answer to what was going on at that Knicks game. Is we have It's been said out loud.
Right. So this is, I would say, an extremely classic situationship. Classic.
Yes.
As textbook as it comes.
Absolutely.
Right. So you're doing this for a while, well over the new year. Correct?
Yes.
Well past our deadline.
Yes, because we then spent Valentine's Day together.
What'd you do on Valentine's Day?
He asked if I wanted to go to dinner.
On Valentine's Day.
Yep.
See, this is where I have a problem with him.
Well, that's
and now
my point.
this is where he's being rude to you, Jordana.
Yes.
Because
It's
right,
personal.
it's rude
I
to
think.
you.
I think it's personal.
Listen, there's so many days. Let's get
Not
dinner.
to make it about me.
Well, I actually, because listen, when we said let's talk about this on air, I understand what he's doing, but I don't think he understands, or he's ignoring the ramifications of Valentine's Day. Doing dinner on Valentine's Day
means to someone.
is the perfect example of dude.
Right. This person has expressed that they like you.
Right.
And that they want a relationship with you. So asking someone to get dinner on Valentine's to me is like, you're kind of like, well, I don't have plans, and this is maybe a day I kind of feel a little lonely. Let me do that. I think it's fucked up.
It's a little selfish.
I didn't know you went to dinner on Valentine's Day. You should have told me that earlier.
Okay, Jordana's even more angry than she was before.
Well, he said, do you want to go out to dinner? Do you want me to cook? Do you want to order? And I said, let's just order food. So we didn't go out to dinner, but he offered.
But even still, the touch
out.
base on Valentine's Day, let's get together, to me is you're being blissfully naive. I mean, also, I would understand you wouldn't be a crazy person for going, oh, dinner on Valentine's Day.
Right.
He must be
excited.
assessing.
Yes.
I was
He's
excited.
back to
Yes.
assessment.
Perhaps
Right.
things have changed for him.
Yeah.
Okay. So cut to where we decided what you were going to do next.
So on Valentine's Day, I said to him, I was like, so here we are on Valentine. I kept bringing it up more than I should.
No. I don't think there's
I guess.
What? I'm defending you. You're there on Valentine's. What the fuck are we doing here?
Yes.
Right. That's essentially what I was
Completely
getting at.
Completely
Yes.
fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And same response. He was like, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying this. I'm
Computing.
definitely more comfortable and enjoying this round more, but I'm not ready to declare anything yet.
Have you asked? At this point, are you going on dates? Did you ask that question? Are you on the
Here's
apps?
the thing is he wasn't, but not on my behalf. It wasn't because he liked me so much that he didn't feel the need to. It's because he just wasn't having success on the apps.
Which
because
that's the most insulting answer.
Right. It's you're
I'm paraphrasing,
calling
but
you
yes.
a backup, essentially.
Well, I think
Why even tell someone that? Why not just be like?
I guess my next
I guess he's trying to clarify again. Even though I am not going on dates, that is no reflection on
correct.
what this is.
Right. That's what he's trying to say. But I would also say I guess my next question to him would be if someone, this is what my dad would do. My dad used to always create these hypotheticals. So if he'd be like, do you know so-and-so? I'd be like, no, he'd be like, are you friends with so-and-so? And I'd be like, he goes, well, if you walk past each other in an empty hallway, would you nod? I was like, does that make us fucking friends? But I would say the hypothetical I would bring to you is, or to him, I would say, if Jordana set you up with someone new, would you go on the date? Was that ever brought up? What was his version of being single while also...
It's not getting any more fucking setups for me.
As well as run dry for him. So
it's off my list.
Right? Did you ever ask that? Other than apps, I know apps are the easy way to be oh, they're not dating.
I think if he met someone that he was interested in, he would go out with them. Yes, if off the apps, not on the apps.
Okay. I mean,
while we were seeing each other, I think he would have gone out with.
But that question
else.
was never posed.
No, I did not ask that.
Okay. So next,
right. So Valentine's Day happens. I ask him. I have that conversation with him. Not a great response still. The following week, Jordana happens to be in the office, and she's.
I won't say that I'm never here.
I'm so sorry. You're here all the time. You're here every day. You're here every day.
Thank you.
There was a work event that you were here for.
It was a
Jordana was here in her
lifetime opportunity. Jordana happened to show up one day.
No.
Say it right. Jordana was here in her pantsuit, ready to go.
At least once a week, sometimes twice.
Right. 7 a.m. crack of dawn.
And Jordana said, how's it going? I haven't asked in a while, so I think I can ask. How's it going? And I said, funny enough, I asked him the same, and we spent. I think I said we spent Valentine's Day together.
I don't remember
You were
that,
shocked
but I
by that.
believe you. Okay.
Yeah. But he's still not ready to commit. And you said the only thing that he's not going to change unless you change the situation. So
right. Well, what I said is he might. There's the highest probability is that he never changes and never wants to date you. However, that's a guarantee if you keep doing what you're doing. There is a chance if you're truly very into this, where if you end it, then because right now he's getting everything he wants. If you end it, then there's a chance that he comes back and wants something more. So I said there's no way out of this besides you ending it.
Right. Totally agree. And did you take that advice?
So I took that advice.
Thank you.
Ended it.
I ended it. I ended it.
And what did you say when you ended it?
I said, you know what I'm looking for. It doesn't seem that you want the same thing. If you decide that you do want it and I am still single, then reach out and we'll see. But for now, this is not working for me.
You know what I want.
Right.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
And what was his response to that?
Not much. Quiet guy.
Peace.
He was like, I'm disappointed, but I understand. I always said if you weren't cool with this, then that's fine.
Right. And you said, I'm not cool with this.
Right.
Okay. So this is when, like end of February?
Right after Valentine's Day.
It is April 5th. Okay. And at this point, I think this is the last time I heard of it.
Right.
Because I was like, I walked in today and you were telling stories and I was like thinking, I thought we were talking about a new guy.
Well,
and I was like, when you said it was the same guy, I go, what?
So the last I had heard, I knew that wasn't good. The last I had heard of this. So I hadn't heard anything since then. And you told me that it ended. And I said, make sure you're not texting him. And you said, I haven't texted him. And you hadn't contacted him at all since that point in February.
Right.
So then the last I had heard of this was Friday when I hear from you.
Right.
This past Friday,
I received a classic hey text.
Hey.
Nothing else.
Okay, now we're in deal reveal mode because now so you hadn't spoken since
Do you want to just
then.
give us the thing and the two of us can read it, or you don't feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, pre-Valentine's Day, this breakup, how many times a week are you hanging out? Like, is it awkward on a weekend? Like, on a weekend, is he going out and then you don't hear from him and then Saturday you guys meet up? Like, what are the hangouts like? Because here's where I kind of like see eye to eye with this guy because I know him a little bit, but I think him and I are very much alike where it seems he's lazy.
100%.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because I'm lazy. And I'm not saying this as a dig at him because I feel him. I feel like I'm his avatar. I feel like I'm inside of him right now.
Well, and I don't think you would do these things at this point in your dating life. Not that you would have never done them, but I think at this point,
I would know I'd be afraid of you, Jordana. I'd be afraid of you, Julia. Yeah.
Okay.
I would be too. I would
be afraid of what's happening in this very moment. If I were him, just knowing how invested I am in this.
Right, I'm afraid of Mike. I would be, this is all, I would understand the ramifications. I would hope I would understand that there's more, that I would opt out of the difficulties that this could bring rather than the spoils of Julia. I
guess she's worth it.
Not to say she is, I'm just saying, I would be like, fuck it.
So this past Friday at 1 p.m., I'm going to be her, you be him.
Okay, so Friday, 1 p.m. You weren't fucking around. Hey.
Hey.
Good move.
Yes.
Hope things are well. Just going to get straight to the point. ...
I'm embarrassed
The
now.
next text, I think you still have one of my shirts. Then he writes, kidding. No, that's pretty good.
That's funny. I thought that was funny. I was fine with that.
Right. But actually, are you around this weekend or next week to catch up?
And then she writes, you reply to that, I think you have still one of my shirts. I would have killed you. And this is something we discussed, saying.
All of these texts were written by Jordana.
Okay.
I'm basically having this conversation. Has something changed since the last time we spoke? I just don't want to waste either of our time if you're still in the same place you were when we last talked.
Great text. despite what some of your friends may think about me, I'm not a fuckboy.
Remains to be seen.
Do I have issues? That would be an interesting debate, but I'm one of the good guys.
I'm mortified.
I don't like that.
I don't like that
It's
one.
like I'll be the judge of that.
Right. Also, like, you're here. You're in bad guy territory. You're coming back. You're the guy
Right.
coming back. Like, get it out. Like, this preamble, I would have advised against it for him.
I don't like it either.
Right.
It's very wishy. It's very vague too.
Right. And it's like, I don't.
Stop talking about your character. I'll
Right.
judge your character.
Right. Have some. What's the action?
Right.
I'm not a fuckboy. Like, I don't. Also, the friends. Like, he's like stiff arming. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe him as a fuckboy. I would describe him as lazy guy who likes a girl and doesn't want to move on with his life.
She didn't even call him that. He's
I'm
preemptively
right.
getting in front of
Before you get
whatever
into it.
helps you sleep at night.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you reply. You haven't answered my question. We reply. You haven't answered my question. ...
Okay, so then he writes, he responds to the has something changed since message. All I can say is this. I'm aware if nothing has changed. I agree. Then this is a waste of time. I've certainly been thinking plenty about our conversations and about us. If we can catch up, maybe, hopefully, I can try and fully speak my mind.
I mean, then it just gets into scheduling.
So you agree to a time and place for this walk, but then before that, you reiterate before the walk.
So the walk has been scheduled. Then you say, hey, pre-walk,
Yes.
this is the text.
I'm not trying to get into it over text, and we don't need to. I just need to reiterate that if you're still unclear about what you're looking for, I don't think we should, quote unquote, catch up. If you have clarity that you didn't previously have, then I will meet you.
Right. I mean, at that point, the only thing to meet about is work together.
Right,
Let's
right,
have some champagne, pop the bottles.
Yes. In my opinion, that's what I'm trying. Again, we're trying to protect you from like going into that conversation and just getting emotionally invested in something.
Right.
Or someone being luring you in.
Well, then he ignores that because he says you are trying to get into it over text, though. So it's like, it sucks because it's like you're walking. At that point, it's like watching a bus hitting you. You know this isn't let's be together, an excited conversation. This is going to be a long,
Vague,
drawn out,
yeah.
vague thing. You have to know that.
And then you say, I'm not, because he says you are trying to get into over text though. And then you say, I'm not, I just want to make sure you really have something worth saying. If the answer is yes, then we can leave it at that.
So then he writes back, I'm not going to be ready for a little while longer.
That's logistical. That's not
okay.
about-
The simple answer is yes, my thoughts and feelings have changed.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
So now we go on the walk.
We go on the walk.
What's he say?
Immediately, I'm like, okay, so what do you have to say? And he's like, he wants to do some small talk first, some actual catching up.
How
I don't
you
know if That's an
been?
important detail. Yeah. How you been?
Okay.
Finally, I
Buying time.
force it out of him.
Trump's in the news.
Getting some steps in. Getting some steps in
Right.
before
Let's
we
get
get
to
there.
1,000.
Yeah. Then we get into the good stuff.
Then, and I think I have to paraphrase because it was multiple hours, this conversation, not an exaggeration.
Okay.
He said that he understands that the reason it hadn't worked out the previous couple times was because he clearly has commitment issues, some fear of commitment. He understands that based on where we were when it ended, that we probably were in a place that we could have been in a relationship and should have been, and that we weren't able to get there because of his inability to be open and let walls down, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And that he wanted to start dating again with a new approach of being open and being vulnerable, and ideally, if we could get back to where we were before, that we would start a relationship.
Okay. So this is like a preamble to a relationship in your mind. Is what he's agreeing to is like to do this again with the idea that you are going towards a relationship. And it's funny, when she told me this, I had what you said in the back of your mind where it's like boyfriend or fuck off. Very few people are going to be like, okay, boyfriend starting today, Friday, Now
Right.
I
Well,
have a girlfriend.
right. Well, that's
So I was like, okay, fine. But he's saying now it's headed there.
right. I guess, like it's such an interesting thing because it's like I hear what he's saying, but it's
Sold.
bullshit, right? Right. It's I mean, the idea that he would be waiting for you by the park with a bottle of champagne, let's be together, let's not.
That happens in the movies.
It's the movies.
Yeah.
But you show. He's asking it sounds like he was asking is like, let's replay all the levels that we just played. And then when I get to that level that we're at, I think I'll be better suited
to make a decision
to make
at
it
that point.
right.
Yes.
So he's asking you to do everything. Let's do the Knicks game. Let's do the hangout. Let's do the dinners and the come overs. And then you're gonna are you like, I guess if this in his world, like if I was to say to him, if I was like to take him at his word, where like that's what he wants to do, I would go, okay, am I gonna have to force a conversation for you to say that I'm your girlfriend again? Because that's something I'm not really
Looking
to do. Right.
yeah.
I guess like, this is the only scenario where the exclusive but not in a relationship yet would apply.
Somehow. Yes.
Right.
Where it's like, okay. And then I was like, all right, fine. I think you could date him. You could agree to date him without sex for whatever period of time in your mind you're comfortable with, after which, like, boyfriend or fuck off at that point.
Right. That's the only way it could
Which
work.
I think was still like a very like forgiving stance on it.
That's the most forgiving.
Yeah.
The most forgiving is, all right, let's see what this is, couple weeks, but I'm going to ask you to be exclusive with me. And I'm, the physical stuff's going to have to wait a little bit. Right. And
that was in my mind, like if a response to what he's saying that would make sense for you.
Would that make sense for you?
Yeah.
Right. So what did you say?
So I didn't give any type of like
You're just
yes or
listening.
no. I was listening. I was saying, initially I was like, this doesn't sound really different from what we've done previously.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, after talking with you now and hearing your side of it, I see that, it's all changes on my side. For you, it's essentially the same thing. Like, he knows going into it, he's going to be different, but
right. What does that mean tangibly for you?
For me, it's the same.
Right.
He said I don't want you dating other people. He also said, which I think is key, that, I was like, how do you know you're not just lonely? Like, what about this is specific to me?
Good for you.
And he was like, I obviously thought about it. Maybe I was just lonely, but I kept coming back to like thinking about you and our relationship and missing our time together. And I just kept coming back to you.
We're in a relationship.
So yeah.
Sounds like some.
So that to me was like one of the most important things, that it was more specific to me.
So you're like, all right, I'm going to think about it.
Essentially, yes.
Okay. So this is Friday. You say you're going to think about it. On my end, I hear all this. I'm like, I'm a genius. I need to become a dating coach.
You've done it.
I'm incredible, like making it entirely about me.
I said that to you too.
I was very excited, like vicariously through you.
I said that
I
to
was
you.
like, it feels like my plan.
We did it. We did it.
We did it.
We did it, yes.
We're gonna have we
I have a boyfriend now.
Right.
I said to you, I can't believe I have a boyfriend now.
Right.
I have a boyfriend. No, I haven't been as excited about something that is not happening to me in a very long time.
Well,
so
this
I
is
was
great.
very
Big day
I'm
for
invested.
Jordana.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm invested.
Yeah.
I know both people. I
But
care.
this is also what he's not accounting for, is
Right.
that you would be excited for them, that you're involved in every text. Like, this is, okay, so.
Well, that's why I wasn't really a fan of what was going on before when they were just hooking up. I'm like, this isn't really why I like set you up so that you could like be sleeping with someone who works with me without any like.
Well, who
strings
wants
attached. Right, who wants
more
a
than
relationship?
that?
Right.
Yeah, I didn't
You
set you up
haven't
to.
thought of me at all.
Right. But he should a little bit.
A little bit.
You didn't set them up for him to knowingly, and he knows, because that's why he keeps having these talks. That's why he keeps saying, I'm assessing. Like, that's why he chooses his words wisely, because he is more in tune emotionally than he's letting on.
I don't know about that.
I do.
Well,
As a person.
Let's fast forward to Sunday.
I will also say, before we move fast forward to Sunday, that He spends a lot of time analyzing all of his thoughts, every decision he's ever made, every word that he says. He is very intentional.
Clearly.
I believe that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I'm assessing is a very intentional, thought out response.
Right.
Yes, he's clearly not a people pleaser.
No,
I would say. To give him one compliment,
Right.
Not a people pleaser.
Good for
So
him.
all of that-
I envy that.
That
trait.
to me is an important factor in what then was to come.
Okay.
on
So this
Saturday.
was Friday.
This
was
was
the
Friday
big
night.
walk.
Friday
Okay.
night, big walk.
Okay. You don't speak on Saturday.
We don't speak on Saturday. In fact, a couple
To
friends.
your boyfriend?
Crazy. Well, a couple of my friends were like, "You haven't heard from him today?
Right.
Like, that's kind of weird." And I was, in my mind, I was like, "Well, it's on me now to reach out to him to let him know what I want."
Right. Because you
I
left
thought it was
you
on
left
me.
it at I'm gonna think about this.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Basically.
So fair.
I mean, if you never heard from him again, that would be weird.
Right.
But fine. You said I'm gonna think about it. He's letting you think. In my mind, that's how I would rationalize it
Right.
as well. Okay, let's cut
So,
to Sunday.
cut to Sunday morning. I FaceTime him
Mm-hmm.
with the intention of saying, "Fucking obviously, I'm gonna like do this again.
Right.
I'm a human being.
I'm in.
Right. Here's the thing, and to give you
Let's go
credit,
get brunch.
this is what you've been thinking about and wanting this is what you've been practicing thinking about and wanting for over 6 months at this point.
Right.
So of course that's what you want. Like
Right.
I can see why you might beat yourself up for being like, oh, I'm giving this guy another chance, or but like this is what you've wanted the whole time, and it's been dangled in front of you for that long.
Right.
Any rational person, that's almost like how that's almost how you obtain an addiction, is when you're given a little bit of something and then it's pulled away and then you're given more of it and it's dangled in front of you.
Here's more.
So I think it's from a neurochemical perspective. I think of course you were like, this is what I've been waiting for this
Right.
entire time.
I don't think you're crazy at all for like, I gave the parameters. This is someone I like. And also I would understand that you're like, this isn't, it's not like you've walked in on him cheating on you.
Right.
Five
He
different
hasn't
times.
wronged me.
Right.
He's always
Said
very
anything that's not
upfront
true.
about where he
Right.
was at.
Right. And also, it's not like he's on the app swiping. You're not seeing notifications pop up from apps. Like, there are other ways that are more offensive than what he's doing. Like, what he's doing, I would rationalize it as like, yeah, he really does have a tough time committing to someone. And
Fine.
this isn't personal to me. This is because we're all allowed to have our own neuroses.
And he's upfront about that.
And he's upfront
Fine.
about that. And I think, like, I would understand from your angle where you're going, I could totally understand not taking it personally, because I don't think it is personal from him. I do think he's like, I think the walk should have happened with a therapist, to be perfectly honest. Like,
Should happen with us.
Right. He'll be our next week's episode. Yes. But I think because what he's saying on the walk, I understand like the idea of like, oh, well, now we're together. Like, he wasn't going to do that, because I don't think I'll say I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to be like, water under the bridge. I'm a boyfriend guy now, or a girlfriend guy
Well,
now.
then
Like,
let's finish
finish
it, and then I think I would have a rebuttal to that. But let's
Okay.
finish. Let's finish.
but this is a defensive for going back, because I'm like, okay, this is his neuroses, not
right,
me.
and he's being upfront about that.
right, and it's not. I'm not done fucking. You know, like,
Okay.
So
That was not a factor in my decision. But so I FaceTime him Sunday. He answers. He's sitting in a chair holding his head. He looks like shit. I thought he was hungover. I immediately, first thing I said, "Are you like, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, well, yes, why?" And like asks about my Saturday, small talk. Then he goes, "So I think I know why you're calling. Before you say anything, can I please say something?"
okay.
And I say, "Okay."
Uh-oh.
And he says to me, to my face, "I've been sick to my stomach. I thought you might call yesterday, and I woke up sick to my stomach. When I saw your name calling me this morning, I was sick to my stomach again.
This guy.
Just seeing your name makes me want to throw up.
Literally.
Sorry.
I just am not as confident today, or after our conversation Friday, I'm not as confident as I was. I just am not sure, again, that this wouldn't be the same thing it has been. A pattern is a pattern." Basically telling me I meant everything I said on Friday. I go, "No, you did not. You cannot mean what you said on Friday and mean what you're saying to me right now." Are you kidding me? I asked you twice before we
Right.
met up that you were sure that something had changed, that you had something different to say.
Yeah.
And you told me that you did. And now you are telling me that you fucking don't. Can I curse on this podcast?
Yes.
I
Let it
You ever
out,
listen
sister.
to the show?
Yeah.
I'm a little insulted.
and then,
Don't you work here?
we he says that he, we like go back and forth, and I was like, you said you spent what I said to you guys right now.
Weeks,
you
yeah.
spend so much time making any decision that you make and putting so much thought into it. That's how we got to Friday. You thought about it. You felt so sure about it that you felt it was appropriate to reach out to me and say these things and have this conversation with me. What's happening right now is just a reaction to all the fear that you said that you have, your commitment issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening. Like, there's no way you could spend all this time thinking about it, be sure, and then now after laying eyes on
Right,
me,
what's changed?
you're not fucking
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah.
Right. And the added thing of like, you brought me back to be dumped.
Yes.
Right.
You were
Right.
like fucking with me.
Right.
Right.
And I
Right.
do not I don't want to defend him in any way, but I don't think he brought me back to just dump me.
No,
and
no,
I
I
really
don't
think
think-
on
yeah.
Friday, that's what he thought. But then what he felt the next day is like
But-
insane.
Did he give any insight into what changed?
No, he's
He
just like,
doesn't
it's
know.
this. No, you're right. It's a gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling, yeah. Because this is where I kind of
He clearly immediately regretted it.
right.
I think
right.
he also had said, I threw out the boyfriend or fuck off on Friday. And we came to the conclusion, we're not going to leave this conversation in a relationship because
Okay.
on both sides that wouldn't make sense. But he brought that up on Sunday, how that like frazzled him.
Well,
This 34-year-old man was frazzled that I would have brought up the idea of commitment on some level
right.
after resurfacing after 6 weeks, when it was clear that was the only appropriate reason to reach out to me, was to be like,
Right.
yeah, I'm ready for a level of
So
commitment.
what happens after? So how did this end?
So this was on FaceTime. We kept talking about it far longer than we should have. I should have in that moment been like,
Just hung up.
yeah, but I
Right.
didn't. I made him come to my apartment and say it. By the time he came to my
Pick
apartment,
up
I
the
was like,
sweatshirts.
there was nothing to return. We just continued the conversation in person. And then he said that he didn't know that he'd ever be able to get past if I was stupid and allowed us to move forward dating. He said he doesn't know that he'd be able to move past this new event of him like backtracking, and like it would be awkward. And if in the future he ever felt any inkling of doubt about us, like he would just immediately revert back to how he felt today and just would never be able to like fully move past this.
Right.
All this to also say, I'm not sure about him. I'm just not vocalizing that. Every inner thought that I have about him, there are a million
Well, for
things.
you, you like him enough,
Right, to
that,
try it.
That you want to give it a shot,
Right.
and you want it to be
Right.
a real
And
relationship.
he was clear. He kept saying over and over, like, which I don't know if I believe, I guess I do, that, he can see us long term. He knows that there's potential there. There's a lot of what he's looking for in someone that he sees in me and like sees in our partnership. So he can see that. And he says he likes me enough for a relationship. Like those words left his
Okay.
mouth. It's this gut feeling that he can't shake.
Well, I
he
will
leaves.
let
Then
me
he-
defend him.
One more thing.
One more
Okay.
thing. We'll finish
Sorry.
the
Okay.
tale, and then we'll get
Then
into
he
it.
says, like, what? So I leave here and we don't speak again. And I say, why the fuck would we speak again? We weren't friends before. We're not not with the intention of being friends. He wants to
Right.
like leave the door open still. And I'm like, how could you possibly think that is
How little you
an
think
option?
of me.
Right.
That
Right.
You think that
right.
would be
I
an
know
option
I've been
for me.
wavering here,
Right.
but come on.
Yes. Okay. Then he leaves.
Then he leaves.
Okay.
Last night was Tuesday.
Yes.
I was out to dinner, and when I pulled out my phone after dinner, I had a missed call from him, presumably, I would imagine, to apologize. But he sent no follow-up text. So I don't know what he wanted and has now left it back on me.
You're not going to message him.
I
sit
will not be
there with
messaging
the
him.
missed
But
call.
right now, if I want to know what he wanted, I have to be the one to reach out, which I will not be doing.
So cut to me.
Okay.
And now it's the next morning.
I'm still high off of my.
Oh, so
Dating
you
guru
at this
sense.
point, you really you think that they're still together?
Oh, no. I messaged
I think it's
Jordana.
working. Saturday, I'm like, wow, like I'm
did it.
pretty fucking good at this.
Yeah.
Then Sunday, she messages me. She's like, I will never get over what just happened. I'm like, okay, now what? So she tells me what happened.
Yeah.
And I'm next to Mike. We're driving. And I'm like freaking out at him. I'm like, you're a fucking friend. Like, what a piece of shit. I can't believe he would do this. This is so mean. I think it's so fucked up. Don't you think this is so fucked up? I'm like screaming. Mike's like, what? He's like, oh yeah, not nice. I'm like, what do you mean not nice? Like I need you to call him right now so I can like scream at him. He's like, I'm not doing that. So I'm like livid.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just like in my opinion, hearing this, and we read a lot of dating stories. I'm
Right.
like, this is really fucked up. This is not a nice thing to do, to toy with someone who has who has expressed to you very clearly that they have real genuine feelings for you, to lure them back in, get them excited, get them worked up, and then be like, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh, now I remember why I wasn't interested. I think that, and I've talked about that on the show when that's happened to me personally. I just think it's like, gives no consideration for how someone else might feel. You're just acting on the whim of how you feel with no real thought of how that could affect someone else.
It's classic. This is a classic tale. Like the hey, maybe I feel lonely, so I call the person. We have a conversation. I realize, oh shit, I got to be in a relationship now. Oh my God, my life has to change right away is what kind of freaked him out a little bit. And I think it's just classic. Like, and he is not thinking of like, it'd be interesting to me. I don't think he talked to anybody before calling you on Friday. Like that,
He didn't.
You have to
told me he
run
did
that
not.
through. How's it? Okay, so what are the scenarios? Like that's what I wonder. What did he see the scenario being, or was he not thinking ahead at all? Like that's the difference now between me now and me at a certain point where I've sent the hey text and been like, you know, I've rethought things, and then I would love to see the numbers on the amount of people that do the let's talk and then they're in a relationship for a week and then they break up after a week. Like, didn't that happen in your situationship?
Yeah.
Where it's like you were together for a week.
And then he was like, I'm having a lot of anxiety. Can't do it.
Right. It's like a classic tale, and this happens, and this isn't just. That was the reason we're like sit down, because I'm like, it's not to like beat up on this guy. It's because it's like, yeah, I understand this as much as it's not understandable, you know?
Right. I mean, I don't fully understand it because I don't really fully understand the male point of view on like, let me on. Because
selfish.
I think as women,
It's a
it's very
selfish
different.
act.
You wouldn't be like sleeping with someone and hanging out with them if you didn't really want for this period long of a time, if you weren't looking for anything serious. So I can't really imagine the idea of like being interested in doing that, but not being interested in really dating someone.
Julia said something very interesting. You're like, I'm still figuring this out too. And that's like a more like healthy thing where you're like, we're dating to figure this out. Like, you know, if we
I'm not
go,
asking you to marry me.
well, that's
We're not signing
well,
a contract.
Well, this is the female response always.
Right.
I'm
And that's
not
what I
asking you
said.
to marry me.
Right. And that's what I said
And
when I'm my situation.
Right. And
Right.
this guy, it's all or nothing. He, in his mind, this gut thing he's talking about, which I relate to, is this, I gotta be head over. He's looking for something that I don't think exists. I think he's
Right.
looking for something that like, and I have to deal with that myself, where you go, I don't have that spark gut. And all he can think about, and this is, we talk about this a lot on this podcast. What are you thinking about? You're like, it might have a chance. And he's thinking, this thing is going to be a disaster when it ends. And
It's already a disaster.
well, it's a
that's what
disaster
he
by his
said.
own making, but I'm saying
Right.
he's thinking 5 years from now. Like, as crazy as that sounds, that is where his mind is going to, not a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in his defense, the responsibilities change.
All of that, I think, totally valid. But in that case, don't reach out.
He shouldn't have. No. This isn't a defense of reaching out. I'm explaining the mind of a murderer.
Right. I understand that.
Yeah.
Someone with commitment problems, someone who maybe always is never fully 100% into any one person. I understand that mentality. I think where it becomes fucked up or fuckboy-esque, as they call it, is when you take that uncertainty or you take that ambivalence and you make it someone else's problem.
No. If he had sat here before the hate text and was like, I think I'm going to text Julia, I would say to him, I go, okay, so what happens after that?
Right.
Where do you see this go?
Let's play it out.
Play it out.
Yeah.
And I don't think because then it played out and he freaked the fuck out. So I don't think he ever did. Like as a friend, I would say to him, let's play it out. Okay. Because she's going to come here for this walk and want a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Are you ready to be in a relationship with her? And if he was like, whoa, I'd be like,
then don't do it.
Then don't do it. Like I've had that. Should I send the text moment? Should I make there are expectations. Are you ready to do brunch next weekend with someone and that's your day?
Because he doesn't know what it feels like to get that text and be like, he's fucking back. He knew it the whole time. He finally realized
he had two
wants to be
people
with
saying
me.
that. He had you saying it too.
That to me, I'm like,
got him, bitch.
I'm like, what kind of lunatic would reach out with any other thought?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of person with any regard for anyone else's feelings would reach out unless that was the case?
Right. What's the scenario that he played out that he thought this was going to start? Well, the first option is he didn't play out any scenario. Right. The second option is, we'll just go back to what we were doing before, which is a dickhead thing to do because you're like, that person didn't want that.
Because she ended it.
Right.
And that happened. So if she ended it because she said, I'm looking for this and you're not, and then she said, please don't try to have a conversation with me unless you're looking for that thing again, which is exactly what she said.
And gave you the grace and to say, the phone's still available to you, but it's only for one call.
Right.
And to not do that, you're really not being nice.
That's not nice.
Not nice.
Yes.
That's how Mike said it.
That was what he said. I was like, that's it? I was like, you really don't seem that, or he's like, that's just him. It's like, not nice. I mean, I thought he was nice. So
everyone's nice once you're married to them. Once they've done everything you wanted. Julia, how do you feel? You're mad.
Well, what is in terms of like that time when he called you? Were you like, I kind of want to answer? I'm sure that's how you felt. Yes.
Well, I didn't see it when he called, and I'm glad that I didn't because I probably would have answered.
Right, because you want an end to this story. This is a cliffhanger.
But I also think the apology would be completely self-serving so that he feels better, and I don't want to give him that.
I agree. I would have no conversations for him to like weasel his way out of anything, and like you don't need an apology. So I think, like I said to you, like no one can disrespect you more than you allow them to. Right. So like to speak to him again, I think would be below a level of respect for yourself.
Right.
That
I don't think I need that. I also think, the only silver lining about it is that like we didn't date for a week or two and then he changed his mind. I didn't have the opportunity to get reinvested. I don't feel sad because I was already.
This is what he's getting ahead of.
To me, that's the beauty of boyfriend or fuck off.
Well, it is, but I'm saying what you're saying right now. It does give him a little bit of did the right thing because he's hearing this and going and you're saying like, oh, I didn't get back invested, and that's what that's why the Sunday call came is fuck. I created this. Right. Now I'm seeing what if she gets more invested? What if and again, I think that's where the commitment issues come in, and that's where the hey, I maybe need to like talk this out with someone who's a professional comes in because you go, hey, we were just gonna date. Disappointment can come. Like we were just gonna try this out, and maybe.
And I said that. I said anything you could have done in the future to hurt that you think would have hurt me, like what you have created here is so much worse pain wise than like down the line. So
Well, not necessarily.
with that.
I
Yeah.
think if
Yes,
it'd be worse if he
necessarily.
dated you for a year and then was like,
a year,
I don't want to
sure.
move in.
But
Right.
if
Like I think that actually would be worse. So I
Right.
think that's why I'm saying I think the boyfriend or fuck off thing is so effective because it
Right.
saves. In the best case scenario, you have a boyfriend, and in the worst case scenario, you waste 2 days instead of a year.
Right. Well, what?
I guess, but I feel like if you gave it a real shot and we decided, we're
would
not a
fall in love
match.
with you?
We don't work. Like, then yeah, we gave it a try and let's end it. To like decide to think you want to start it and then immediately change your mind.
Well, what if?
That is
let me give
worse.
you another scenario. Well, let's say you date for 6 months. It's going great, and then you guys move in together, and then he goes, you know what? I
me-
don't want to go any further. Like
To me, it would suck at the time, but
Right.
I would be going into it knowing that that's a risk. This
Right.
is like the decision was put on me, taken off of me. Like I was
Gold
like,
in front of
Right,
her.
right.
I
and
had
then
no say in anything that
That's fair.
occurred. And that to me is worse.
Right.
Like if I moved
you
forward,
were
that would
fucked
be
with
my own decision.
without your
Right.
when you also made specific attempts to preempt that
Right.
by giving him multiple warnings of what you were and weren't looking for. Like
Right.
he could have said when she was like, if nothing has changed, please let me know. He'll be like, he could have said, okay, I think maybe it's best that we don't do this at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been annoying, but still better than my feelings have changed
Right.
when they haven't.
Right. Well, listen. We felt so bad about what happened that our friend Red Bull Wilson has given you a free month on Fluid.
to try something else.
Well,
Well, this is just a classic case of, I think, like, this was swimming against the tide. There were so many roadblocks at so many points. And I'm not saying relationships don't have them, but I think when it's right, it's going to be easier than this. It's going to be not easy necessarily, but much easier than this. And all of these things, one after the other, I think, hopefully this is the point where you can say, I deserve someone who's excited to be with me
Right.
and wants to be with me. And I feel very sure that you can find that person.
I agree. And if it makes you feel any better, this guy's got to see Jordana at every event and deal with her wrath because it's coming.
I was telling her before, I was like, can you call him so I can scream at him? He's like, I'm not doing that. And then Monday night, I was in like a really bad mood.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you okay? Like, do you want me to call him? Would that make you feel better? I'm like, no, I'm not even in the mood for that now.
Julia, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, guys. This was therapeutic.
Did it
course.
feel
I
helpful?
wish you
Yes.
the best.
Yes.
We'll have you back on when you found the one.
Thanks.
Right.
Okay.
And people, listen, if you enjoyed, share this with a friend that's going through a similar situation. Everyone has
Tale
that
as
friend.
told as old as time.
Everyone has the friend that was broken up with a day after they've gotten into the ultimatum talk.
Do they? I don't know.
I think this happens.
I have.
Jordana?
Mine was like 3 weeks though.
All right.
Well, and we'll be back on Wednesday.
The U Up podcast is produced by Sean Kilby, Maddie Paul, and Jorge Morales Pico. Editing by Jorge Morales Pico. Social media by Maddie Paul. Be sure to follow at u.up.podcast on Instagram and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.